Happy Wednesday. We're in here late. I am struggling a little bit to come up with some topics this week, so I turned it to Facebook. And thankfully, I got some questions from people that follow me. And that made this week's video kind of unpredictable and awesome because I got three questions that I'm just going to go right into and answer. So, thank you in advance to these three people. Sometimes when the inspiration is not hitting you and you can't think of a topic on your own, you turn to people that can give you some suggestions. So, I got, like I said, three questions. The first one is from Elizabeth Bush, who, if you're unfamiliar, writes the amazing um, Children of Copernicus web serial. I've referenced it before on my videos. It's an awesome series. You should check it out. And she asked, what are your story ideas for the future? And this I can answer a lot of different ways. I mean, the immediate is as I've mentioned, writing a series of short stories in the Gamma Trida universe that are meant to be the bridge between the trilogy I just finished and what's to come. And I got a handful of them done already, and I'm currently writing one now that's going to sort of deal with two characters from the trilogy. There's going to be some minor spoilers if you hadn't read my trilogy, by the way, but I'm going to go into it anyway, so you've been warned. But the characters Nightingale and Trent are up to some stuff in the wake of the last trilogy and kind of revisiting something that happened in those books where there was a failed attempt at this moon called Beta to revolt against the oppressive Gamma Trida ownership of it. And with Gamma Trida weakened after the last trilogy, another revolution happens, and we're going to find out in that short story how things go. And then another thing that was kind of dropped in the Gorgon void that didn't really get resolved intentionally was Lorelei Ogden met another alien species that was previously unintroduced in the series, and we're going to find out what happens to that person that she encounters in another short story. And then I'm going to start writing the next, and I haven't decided if if I'm going to go novel, like long, or I'm going to go another trilogy or another whatever. But there will be more Gamma Triad, and I'm working on it right now. So thank you for that question. The second question comes from Sarah Emling, who's my cousin, and she asked, the most disturbing controversial novel you've read. And I'm going to answer this two ways. And I don't read super controversial things, so there's probably bigger, huge ones out there that you guys have read. But I guess I'll go recently. Blade of the Knights, the Severance trilogy. Daniel Weeb, I hope I said your last name right. Um, Not the most controversial thing in the world, but it was like one of my early exposures to the grimdark fantasy genre. And there's some pretty heavy things that happen in that book, some pretty dark, twisted things that kind of took me a little aback. Not in a bad way, but like a whoa. And then probably a more classic novel that many of you may have heard of, but Under the Volcano by, I got to get the name right, Malcolm Lowry. Sort of, I'm not going to go into it here in detail, but there's this character, the consul, the main character, that kind of just spirals into really bad alcohol abuse and just it's kind of it affects his mind and that. And it's just a really heavy read where I had a really hard time getting through it because it was so dark. Um, Thank you, Sarah, for the question. And finally, Rob Netto of Beyond the Great and Into the Darkness Beyond fame, some great books to check out. I would recommend them. Asked me, what are your plans for Lorelei and April? And here I'm going to delve further into spoilers, as those of you that have read the books know they make it. And the start of the next saga is going to be them seemingly living a happy life off in Ventran space or the Ventran Earth co-occupied space. But of course, something is going to pull them back into the fray, and um, I'm not going to spoil too much of that. But there's going to be something that happens to some friends of theirs that pull them back, and then into a whole new saga of adventure, and it's going to revolve around sort of this brewing cold war between Earthworks and Free Mars, and then the different people that pick sides. Marco Deed's old business, Deed Industries, will play a factor. Um, Soul Defense, all the heavy hitters are going to be picking sides, and it's going to create a bunch of unrest in the solar system. And of course, Lorelei and April are going to be plunged right back into that, and it'll be a fun voyage. So once again, I want to thank the three of you, Elizabeth, Sarah, and Rob, for asking good questions that I got to answer this week and make a what turned out to be a week that I wasn't sure what I was going to talk about, and I've exceeded 5 minutes, which I try not to do, but nobody's going to sue me over that. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next week.